And welcome along to our Report Designer 2025 digital webinar series. This is session number 1. We are repeating the sessions this month. So if you did attend some of them last month, welcome back. Hopefully you'll be able to top up with enough sessions to qualify for that digital badge. Today we'll look, it's as I say, it's session number 1. So before you start thinking about changes to reports, very easy to just jump straight in and say, right, can't find what I'm after. I need a new report. I'm going to try and design one, or I need a new layout. So we're going to have a look at maybe just some of those options to really consider before you get that far. Now, just before we get stuck in with the webinar, we'll quickly run through the usual housekeeping. So just in case anyone is new and you're maybe new to the digital webinars, the webinar series as well. As normal, you do not need a microphone for these sessions. It will be muted if you've got one. That's done automatically. You can't unmute yourself. Any questions for us during the session, you'll need to pop them into the questions panel. You just click the little speech bubble icon. It'll expand that panel on the side. And then you've got that box in the bottom corner where you can start typing. So pop your questions, your comments in there, click send. Obviously that'll appear on our screens. We've got Abby and Laura on hand today to help support me with answering some of those questions. So keep them busy, keep the questions coming. Anything you see in the background, anything you're not sure about, then pop them in there. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, those are available to download during the session. 2 versions available, the full colour version and what we term the print-friendly version with the colour stripped out. So you'll not be using an ink cartridge or a toner cartridge just to print out a few slides here and there, the ones with the black backgrounds. Now, as normal, the session is being recorded. A link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. You'll receive that follow-up email round about an hour after we finish. It will also include links to register for our upcoming webinars and also so you can access our previous recordings as well. Now, speaking of our upcoming webinars, these are the topics that we're covering in this series. So if you want to earn the digital badge, you will need to attend 5 of the 7 topics, or a minimum of 5 of the 7. If you did attend some of them last month, they do contribute to that total. So 5 of the 7 plus 1 of the quiz sessions. Quiz just being an opportunity to test your knowledge. So we'll see what you've learned. So these are the topics. So session 1 today, before you think about changes. Tomorrow we'll be looking at the basic design tools. So how you can go about personalizing your invoices and maybe other layouts, so adding logos, text, maybe your bank details to your invoices, that type of thing. Tables and variables. So if you're going to get stuck into the report designer, it's something, again, part of the fundamentals, that one. We've got a number of introductory sessions as well. You can go very in depth with a report designer once you get going with that. So we're just going to look at sort of an introduction to expressions. We've got an introduction to sections and groups, criteria, and also filters. And then, as I mentioned, there's that quiz. We're running the quiz twice because it is sort of the mandatory part to earn that badge. The badges will be issued towards the end of the month once we've finished all of the sessions that we've got planned in. If you haven't yet signed up for those, or you're looking for other sessions as well, just watch out for your follow-up email. It'll include the link so you can get registered. Right, now this is what we're going to be covering in today's session. So things to think about before you want to start making changes. So I'm going to start with a brief introduction. We'll run through a series of demonstrations, so picking up on things like finding the right report, applying filters, quick search, configuring your columns, so displaying extra information, outputting to Excel, but also the additional reports option as well. So quite a bit to go up before we even get on to amending or even designing new reports. And then just at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support and pick up on any outstanding questions. If we don't get a chance to answer your questions, because it's a really busy session, well over 100 of you logged in already, if we don't get a chance to answer your question, we normally just try to email you afterwards if it's something that's different to what we've actually covered in the webinar itself. So let's get started with a little bit of an introduction to reporting in Sage. So the number of available reports in Sage 50 accounts, it does vary. There's in recent versions, there's been over 900 reports available, but that will be dependent on things like the version of the software you're running. The variant, by variant we mean, is it the essentials level, the standard level, or the professional level of Sage 50 accounts? And also the options enabled. So if you use the projects ledger, for instance, in the professional level, you'll have a set of reports in there. So you're going to have more reports available to you. If you use CIS, you're going to use more reports. Foreign trader. So it does vary, but basically there are loads and loads of reports. And it's probably one of the most common queries when it comes to reporting. I can't find the report I'm after. Which one should I run? And because of that, jump into that sort of conclusion straight away, sort of like, well, actually, I need to design a new report because I can't find what I'm after, or the layout doesn't quite match what I'm after, if it's like an invoice or a statement. So to help you find it in recent versions, what we have done, there's a number of sort of resources available to you to get you to that. There's the Which Report article, which has been around for a little while now. Which the idea of that, it's available from our help center. Obviously that link will work if you've downloaded it. I'll show you that in a moment. And the idea with that is it helps you try to identify the report that you need to run. So we'll often get asked questions, sort of, right, even just basic ones, right? How do I run a P&L? Where do I run that from? Where is it in the software? So part of the challenge is actually just finding it. Are you in the right ledger to find what you're after? So things like the Which Report article in our help center, the idea is you type in a few keywords or you apply a filter and it will try and identify and help you to identify what it is you're after and where that is in the software. And on the sort of the popularity of that Which Report article, it's now built into the software if you're on version 30 or above. So they're very, very similar. And the idea is, again, you pop in some sort of query, some keywords to search on, and it will try and get you to the right report, rather than you going into the help center to find that information yourself. Let's just do a quick demo of that though. So I'll quickly show you these two options, the Which Report and the Report Finder. So I'll quickly share my screen. There we go. And we're going to start with the Which Report option. So I'm just going to access our help center. Now the help center, sage.co.uk/help. It would take you to, I'll just go back to the main page. It'll take you to this page when you go to sage.co.uk/help. And if you choose Sage 50 accounts, and then in the search box, if you just type Which Report. So a second option it finds there, Which Report, finding the report you need in Sage 50 accounts. So this is if you want to go via the Help Center option, or if you're on version 2900, you'll need to go this way to find this information. So the idea with this is you would click the link, this Report Finder tool. So just give it a click, it'll load. And then obviously it gives you a list of all the reports, but you can apply filters. See, right, it's customer reports I'm after. Apply that filter. Or alternatively, you can just type in some keywords. So if I just type profit and loss, just as an example. And the idea with this is that it will try and find reports based around what you're after. So things like the comparative P&L, the departmental P&L, sort of income and expenditures, if you've got the charities option enabled. And not only does it obviously find the report and its description, but it will tell you where it is in the software as well. So if, for instance, this comparative P&L, nominal codes reports, and then you would click the nominal budgets folder. And it tells you availability as well. So is it available on your level of the software? If you're not sure about your level of software, you can find that by going to Help and About within the software. It also should tell you that on your title bar as well when you have the software open. Now, as I mentioned, this is something that's now built into your software. So as long as you're on version 30 or above and you have your software linked to a Sage account. So I'll just close this window and I'll show you what we mean. So if we go to customers as an example, and I'll pop into reports. If you are linked to a Sage account, you'll have this report finder option on the left. Now, if you've got any favorites flagged, it'll actually default to your favorites folder when you come into this screen. So I'll just quickly flag one as an example, just to show you what I mean by that. So when we go into reports, it defaults to the favorites folder. So actually you might not have noticed the report finder if you're on version 30 or above, but it's this option here. And essentially it does the same thing. You pop in some keywords. Now, I'm in the customer's ledger, but that doesn't matter. It will search other areas as well. So again, if I just type profit and loss, do a search, you quickly search the available reports for you, and it should then display a list of results. So as I mentioned there, you've got to be linked to a Sage account to find that. If you haven't got a Sage account linked to your Sage account software, then you'll not have this report finder option. So again, this has just generated a great big list of reports. So even just based around things like profit and loss, you can see if I just scroll down, you can see how many different sort of variants that I could be looking for. If I clear that, I'm just going to click out and back into it. Actually, we'll just close our reports and come back into it, just so you can see it. Show you what I'm after. So you've got this option as well. How does it work? So you might put a sort of a natural sort of language type question in there as well. So you can say, I need the sales analysis for last month. Can you fetch that? Now, if I just click try it now, it would essentially put that text in for me. So you might just pop in a question and hopefully it'll try and find you what you're after. So as I say, it's one of those common queries, sort of people contacting our support team and I just can't find what I'm after. So the idea is this should help. So just be aware that it is there. Now, if you do find reports as well, so if I'm working in customers, for instance, and I think, why, well, age debtors are run that at the end of every month. I don't want to go searching for it. So maybe it's the summary one I use every time. So let's say it's this one. I can flag it as a favorite. Nice simple option, that one, been around for a little while. Excuse me. So been around for a little while, and all I want to do is I've flagged it. So I just click the little star. All that does, it puts it in that favorites folder. So I know you've got flagged as favorites for that particular ledger. They'll just be readily available. It means that you're not coming back in and think, oh yeah, which folder do I go into again to access that report? So it'll just default access that folder. You can do that for your other ledgers as well, and that includes things like if you're going to print invoices or statements, you can flag a certain layouts as your favorites as well. Just makes it nice and easy to find. There's one you want to get rid of, so let's say we no longer use this customer list or we flagged the wrong one, just click on the star, it'll remove it. You can rearrange them as well if you've got loads of these flagged as favorites. I'll just flag a few to pop them in that favorites folder. So if, like say, customer refunds, let's say that's the one I run all the time, I'll just drag that to the top. So you can rearrange them if needed. But again, if you want to get rid of them, just click on the star, it'll remove them from that list. Doesn't delete the report, just removes it from the favorites list. Right, let's move on a little bit then. So that's finding reports. Now, one of the probably the most common queries as well is I need a list of, and it might be just basic information on your list. So something like maybe a list of customers. So yeah, you can run reports for that. But the other common one is it includes too much information. So if you've never come across it, we do have a filter option at the top. You can apply a filter. So let's say I want to run a report and I want to hide the zero balances from that report. I've got a few that are listed here. And if I wanted to hide those, I can just quickly apply a filter And this is something that Laura will be going through tomorrow morning in a lot more detail than what I'm going to cover. Have a good look at the filters, see what's possible. It adds that much more flexibility to your reports. Quite often, even if it's a report you're after, you might think, well, actually, I only want to include certain information on that report. So applying a filter beforehand, so only the records are listed that you want to include, because it's essentially you're going to get then what you want on the specific report itself. So let's say I wanted to hide those zero balances. I'm just going to do quickly add a filter, and I'm going to do is not equal to, and we'll say 0. So it should hide the zero balances. So we're saying, right, we only want accounts listed where the balance isn't 0. So if I apply that, close, and we've now got that list where all those zero balance accounts are hidden. So for working credit control, for instance, I don't want to be I don't want customers listed that have a zero balance. I want to be chasing those that do have a balance on there. So there's loads you can do with things like filters. So filtering that list and then running a report, it means that it'll obviously those filtered records won't be included. Similarly, you can go down and you can sort of start selecting records as well. So if I highlight a number of records, so I'll just highlight these 3 as an example. If I was to run a report at that stage, let's just base customer list will do. When I run that report, it will only run the report based around the records that I've got selected, so the ones that are highlighted on that list. So it's another way of narrowing it down. But sometimes a filter is a much easier way. You're not going down and say, right, that one, I want to include that one, and making your selection. Right, now the other option you do have, another really interesting option as well, this one, but just knock that filter off. So I'm just going to click onto, I can either click this little filter icon to remove the filter, or I can go into filter and just clear it, apply, close. I'm back to that full list. It tells me I'm on my full list. At the top there, it says all records. So yeah, you'll have some records that have a zero balance. Some might be inactive. So you might have loads of records on your list. Now that might be customers, it might be suppliers, it might be the likes of your product records that actually they're void essentially. So customers that have gone bust, suppliers that no longer exist, products that you sold once, but actually you haven't sold it for years. So it's just an old historic information that you no longer need to be listed. So you can flag those types of records as being inactive. They will need to meet certain criteria, and we've got some webinar recordings on inactive records. Some of you might have attended that one in the data management series that we ran, but we've run it a number of times. So there's a recording available if you want to attend that one. So in inactive record, if I just go into this one, to flag a record, I can just go into the record and tick the box to say it's inactive. Now, when I try to save it, if it meets the criteria, such as got a zero balance, it's got no outstanding transactions, and some other criteria as well, but assuming it meets that criteria, it'll flag it. So in this inactive column, it will put a Y in there. Now, if you're on the the professional level or the standard level of Sage 50 accounts, you can actually just highlight a number of accounts. Actually, I'll just highlight a few rather than the big range of them. And I might think, well, actually, I want to flag these ones here as being inactive. So you've got a batch changes option as well. And you might have that icon showing separately at the top, but you've got a batch changes option. I can go into a batch changes. I can tick the inactive checkbox, click save. Be prompted as normal, you've chosen to make changes to multiple records. So I'll click yes to that one. And again, as long as they meet the criteria to be flagged as being inactive, it will put a Y in that column. So essentially it's ticking the box. So rather than going into those records one at a time, I've done them simultaneously. So you don't get that option if you're on the essentials level. If you're on essentials, unfortunately, you're going to have to flag them one at a time. So that inactive option, it's available in customers, suppliers, nominal codes, for bank records, and also for your products and services as well. And by flagging them, so putting a Y in that column, it means I can easily filter them from the list. Historically, before you had inactive records, you would have been renaming accounts like do not use or void account, and then you would have been applying a filter, or as it was known at the time, what we termed a search. But now you've got this great little feature, inactive records. And I can take the tick out of this little checkbox at the top where it says include inactive. If I do that, any records that are flagged with a Y as being inactive, they're now hidden in the background. If I want them back, I just tick the box. I don't want them, I want to hide them, just take the tick out. And it means that when I go to run my reports, it filters out all those redundant accounts that I don't want to see. I don't want to include them. So when I run that report, again, I'm only getting what I'm after. It's limiting the information that's being passed through. Obviously, I could apply a filter on top of that as well. One little tip I would give with regard to inactive, if you've got them hidden, you probably don't want to see this empty column, this inactive column. So you can actually right-click your column headings. It will give you a list of the sort of the columns that you can show or hide. So if I don't want to see that inactive column, I can just switch it off. But it also means the same feature is that you can right-click and you can show other information. So you might want to include the email address. You might want to hide like the telephone number. I'll switch that one off. You might want to see sort of the, well, whatever it is you're after. Sort of, let's just pick on one. Have the last credit review, if you record that type of thing in your accounts, or we can do the sort of the last invoice, and it would then pop the date in there for you. You could sort on these columns as well. So click on them, puts it in ascending order, click on it again, puts it in descending order. So you've got the accounts with the most recent last invoice at the top of the list there. By default, there would be an account reference order. So you've got a number of options, and by displaying that extra information or hiding certain records, you've got another option, the send to Excel option. So you've got a number of options when it comes to sending information to reporting, but also Excel. Quite often the query is, I just need this list. And it might just be a one-off. Quick question from Carolina, why are the records highlighted in red? They're in red, it's just some dummy data I've got, but accounts will appear in red where they've exceeded the credit limit. So I've got loads of, on this dummy data that I've got, we've got loads listed. So this one's got a £2,000 credit limit, and obviously you can see the balance on this dummy account is a lot higher. If I just go into that record, and I was going to credit control, and let's say we just change that to 5,000 as an example, and save it, close out. If I click off it, you'll see that's no longer in red. Again, that red just sort of, I suppose for reporting purposes, it highlights it to you. So when you've sort of got the records listed that you want, and maybe the additional columns, I'll just get rid of that email column. Let's say I don't want that. Maybe I don't want the email or print option, but just scroll down to the bottom. I can switch that off. So, but as you can see, there's loads of extra columns that you can display if you're after that. And once I've got that list, it means that I can send it to Excel. So if I click send to Excel, whatever's listed, doesn't matter about whether it's highlighted or not, but whatever's listed, that's what it will transfer across to Excel. And I'm sure most of you will have a bit of knowledge of Excel. Some of you probably quite extensive, others maybe not so much. Now, obviously from there, you've got that information transferred across. You can do whatever you want with it at that point. You're just working in Excel itself. And sometimes where it's a one-off, just doing that, applying your filter or selecting records and hiding information and sending it to Excel will probably achieve what you're after. It does resolve a lot of queries, that one. Let's just go back where we were. If you've got certain columns hidden, and again, this is available just about throughout the software, if you right click, you can always go right down to the bottom of that list. And there is an option right at the bottom, use defaults, it'll just reset those columns for you. Just give it a moment, it'll do that for me. There we go. So do bear that in mind. Again, it's something to maybe consider before you get as far as thinking, right, I need that report. I need to do a new report, so that type of thing. There are other options for sending information to Excel as well. So if I just remove that highlight for the time being and go into reports. Now if I just choose something like customer details and customer list. So you've got a number of options here for getting that information out of Sage into the likes of Excel. You've got options at the top here, report to Excel. If I just give that one a click, it'll run the report for me, but then it will send what would be the design of the report. So this is something that you're going to recognize, which is great if you just want, a basic listing similar to the report itself. But the thing is with this, you probably find you've got merged columns. You've got this column D here. You can just see it. You've got almost a blank column there. You've got a blank column A. So you might find not quite what you're after. The other format is sending the data itself to Excel. So if I do that one, just so you can see what that looks like. It'll transfer the information. This is really good if you want to analyze additional information. But it just really depends what information you're after. So you can do that for any report, send the report or the data across to Excel. Potentially can be quite lengthy if you're including sort of transactional information. So it is just the list of the data that is essentially considered for the report. There would be no grouping or anything like that when you send the data itself to Excel. Final option to quickly mention as well when it comes to running reports and maybe wanting to export them, save them to Excel, that type of thing, you've got the export option. By default, it will default to the PDF format, but you've got loads of other formats as well, including Excel in there, or CSV if you wanted to, export information to transfer. Now, I do want to quickly pick up on the highlighting of records. Got a question about that one earlier as well, where you go down and if you want to highlight more than one record. Now, there's a few ways you can do this, and one of the most important things with it is what we term the list selection style. Now, if I just highlight Bob's Building Supplies and I then click on this John Smith Studios, you'll see that the highlight follows me around. I click on Morley Solicitors, it just follows me around. If I want to highlight multiple records, what I can do is, if I click onto ABS Garages, and let's say I want everything from ABS down to and including John Smith, if I hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and then click John Smith, it'll highlight sort of that range. If I just want to do, say, ABS Garages and John Smith only, then what I do is I hold down the Control key. And if I just hold down the Control key as I'm clicking, you'll see it highlights those records. So there's a few different ways. Now that's what we would term the Windows selection style. You can set it to the Sage selection style as well, and you do that by going into Tools and then Options. And on the Environment tab, so loads of good selection style. If I choose to the Sage selection style, which is the one I'm more used to, so I think it's the one I prefer out of the two as well. But the way it now works if you go into customers is that if I highlight an account, it's almost like an on-off button against each record. So if I just randomly click, I'm not holding down any keys at this stage. It just highlights them. If I click on it again, it removes the highlight. But it means that, you know, it makes it very easy then to select multiple records. Unique to your PC, that one. So it means that, you know, if you're on a network with all your colleagues, you're not constantly battling between which way the method of highlighting records on your list. So just to confirm, that was Tools, Options, and then on the Environment tab, you can toggle between the two. But I think the Sage selection style is my personal preferred option. And that would also apply, just in case anyone has come across this, when you're in likes of your bank reconciliation, if you're trying to highlight multiple records. Right, again, keep your questions coming through if you do have any. Now, one thing with I must mention as well with regard to the likes of your records, if you do sort your records, so if I put mine into, let's say, balance order, ascending, if I was to run a report, it won't pull that through onto the report itself. The report will dictate what order records should be listed in. That's something that won't go through to report. We'll go through to Excel. So I click that Send to Excel option. You can see the balance is still in ascending order, but if I was to run a report, it would just ignore the order that I've got them listed in. So again, that's something to be aware of. If you're wanting them in a certain order when you run a report, then you're going to have to tweak the actual design of the report itself. That's something that we do cover in one of the later sessions as well. So if you haven't, get yourself signed up for that one. Sean, you quickly mentioned there about the Sage style. Can we select ranges? Yeah, simple answer to that one. No, you can't. So if I try and hold down the, if I highlight that first one, I'll just remove the highlights off this one. If I hold down the Shift key, which I would have done on the Windows selection style, and then click onto this Morley Solicitors, it doesn't do anything. So it's that on-off style of highlighting records when you're on the Sage style. But again, it's a bit of a personal preference. Quick question from Ahmet as well. Is there a webinar for ODBC? No, there's never really been the demand for that one, Ahmet. That would, for the numbers wise, for people wanting to attend that. But you will find loads of information about ODBC, configuring it, setting up links, etc. You will find that available in our help center. Right, again, keep your questions coming. Right, I'm just going to quickly pop back to the slides for a moment. So there's, as I say, there's loads of great resources available for you in our help center. You've got the reports and layouts hub itself. I've included some links as well if you've downloaded the slides on filtering your lists, using wildcards in your searches, and also using the quick search option as well. So to quickly try and locate the records that you're after. So again, do use those. If you've got any final questions, or brings us sort of towards the end of the demo for what we'd wanted to cover this morning. The idea of this session, just really to set the scene, get you thinking about, well, what could I do before we get as far as editing a report and requesting changes to it. The others will go a lot more in depth into the report designer itself. So almost like taking little steps in tomorrow's session where we look at personalizing your invoice layout, adding a logo, that type of thing. Then beyond that, we'll be going a lot more in depth. So looking at tables and variables and expressions and groups and sorts and criteria, that type of thing. If you've got any final questions for today's session though, please pop them in the questions panel now. Remember, we've still got Laura and Abby on hand as well. You've kept them quite busy so far. And remember, you are going to be sent a link to today's recording, and that will be included on the follow-up email, which you'll receive around about an hour after you finish. Webinar-wise, link is included on your follow-up email, but otherwise, if you want to register for any, you can always just head along to sage.co.uk/webinars, give you access to the page similar to what you can see. So you can access the live sessions and the recordings, both for Sage 50 accounts and for Sage 50 payroll, but also Business Cloud accounting and Business Cloud payroll. So do check them out if you get a chance. Right, we're going to end the webinar just at that point, unless there's any outstanding questions. I think we've just about picked most of them up yet. Oops, at the minute. I'll have a quick scan through just in case there's any questions we haven't answered. But for those of you that are about to leave, many thanks. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Again, it's just setting the scene a little bit really for the rest of the sessions that we've got coming up. There'll be a little survey pop-up as you leave. If you can take a minute just to complete that. Let us know your thoughts, share any ideas with us, topics you'd like to see covered going forward. It'll take you about a minute max, and then your follow-up email will be with you in round about an hour's time. I've got a couple of outstanding questions. So we got one from Victoria from earlier. So Victoria, you mentioned there on reports, can you adjust the column width to fit a long description? So you mentioned some of your nominal descriptions are long, and when you run the advanced P&L, it doesn't quite show the whole description. With reports, it's really fixed by the design of the report. So a lot of the reports in Sage you can amend. Some you can't, some you can. It just depends on the report itself. So if you've got quite long descriptions, whether that's customer names or suppliers or nominal codes or product names or whatever it is, chances are if it doesn't quite all fit in, then you'll probably need to edit the report and make a certain column a bit wider. We're touching on that, not in detail, but over the next few sessions, we will be sort of touching on that when we look at editing an invoice, that type of thing. From Christine as well, will we be looking at the report formats that you create in reports, then send out to Excel? We're not going beyond what we've covered today. So send to Excel, that's really probably about as much as we're choosing to looking at today. So yes, the report format, the standard reports, you probably find that's where you've got additional information in there, maybe blank columns, merge cells, that type of thing. So we're not going any further than what we've covered today with that one. Mike, you could had a similar question about that type of thing as well. So again, we're not going that in depth today. If it's something you want that's specific, get in touch with our support team. It might be that it might be something specific to that report, or there might be another alternative available. Beyond that, it would just be a case of them escalating that to our reports team. So they'll just take the details of what it is you're after, and they can escalate it from that point. Right, okay. So I think the questions are just about drying up there. So we'll end the webinar just at that point. Once again, many thanks for coming along. Do take that minute to complete that survey. That'll pop up as you leave. Hopefully I'll see you on tomorrow morning's session at 11, where we're looking at personalizing your invoice layout. Now, some sort of steps that we're going to follow tomorrow, those processes, you could follow the same steps for reporting, statement layouts, order layouts, remittances, credit notes, but we are going to concentrate on an invoice layout tomorrow. So hopefully I'll see you on that session then. So we'll end the webinar just at that point. Once again, many thanks. Do take that opportunity to complete that survey, and hopefully I'll see you again very soon. Many thanks.